Maya Johnson's mornings were quiet, not peaceful, just quiet. At 5:42 a.m., before the buses started rumbling, before the shops unlatched their doors, and long before the world bothered to notice her existence, she was already outside. Black hoodie, faded jeans, worn-out sneakers that had walked too many lifetimes. She didn't mind the silence. It was in the silence that she felt most in control. No one asking, no one judging, no one watching. Each morning, on her way to the downtown library where she cleaned the marble floors before the public showed up, Maya made one stop. A corner. 8th and Carson. It was there, nestled between a cracked payphone and an overflowing trash bin, that he sat. Always the same spot, always the same look in his eyes, like he was both here and not. His name was Caleb. Maya never asked what brought him there. The streets had a way of breaking people in ways that weren't meant to be told, only felt. But there was something in Caleb that reminded her of her brother before the army took him and never gave him back. A silence in his spirit, but a warmth in his nod when she handed him a cup of coffee. No cream, no sugar, just heat and humanity. "Morning," she'd say, crouching beside him. He'd take the cup with both hands like it was sacred. "You're a good one," he'd reply most days. She never stayed long. 5 minutes, maybe 6. Then she'd be gone, melting into the background, just like always. But that morning, something was different. Maya turned the corner with the familiar cup in hand, steam curling like gentle fingers into the cold air. The sky was still navy, a few stars stubbornly clinging to their posts. She expected silence. She expected Caleb sitting in his usual place, nodding in gratitude. But what she saw made her stop mid-step. 2 young men, white, loud, and clearly drunk, were standing over him. One laughed while pretending to trip, accidentally spilling his drink onto Caleb's blanket. The other kicked a dented tin can across the sidewalk. Caleb didn't move. He just looked down, shoulders tucked into himself like a turtle trying to disappear. "Hey!" Maya's voice cracked the air. The taller guy turned, surprised. "What?" She marched forward. "Back off. He didn't do anything to you." The shorter one raised his hands in mock surrender. "Easy, lady. We're just playing." "This isn't a playground," she snapped. "Leave, now." The taller one laughed again, shaking his head. "Jesus, chill." But they walked, slowly, deliberately, with that smug swagger of men who knew they'd never be punished. Maya watched them disappear down the block before she crouched beside Caleb. "You okay?" she asked softly. He didn't look up. "You shouldn't have done that. I should have done it sooner." She handed him the coffee. His hands trembled as he took it. "Thank you," he whispered. "But people like me, we don't get help, not really." "You did today." They sat in silence again, but this time it was heavier, thicker, like the world was holding its breath. Maya glanced at the street, just in time to see the flashing lights. A police cruiser, then another. Maya stood up slowly as 2 patrol cars came to a stop across the street, tires crunching the gravel like knuckles cracking before a fight. She wasn't worried yet. She had done nothing wrong. Caleb had done nothing wrong. If anything, she thought, maybe someone had seen the commotion and called for help. Maybe, for once, someone had done the right thing. The doors opened. 2 officers emerged. One was young, tall, clean-shaven. His uniform looked fresh off the rack, the kind of man who probably still practiced lines in front of his mirror. The other was older. His eyes scanned the scene with a practiced coldness, like he had seen too much, felt too little. They walked straight toward Caleb. "Got a call about some loitering and public disturbance," the young one announced. Maya stepped forward. "There was no disturbance. 2 guys were harassing him. I saw it. They left. That man did nothing wrong." The older officer didn't even look at her. His eyes were fixed on Caleb. "Name?" he asked. Caleb hesitated. "Caleb Wright." "You got ID?" Caleb looked down. "No, sir." The younger cop narrowed his eyes. "You been drinking, Caleb?" "No." "Then why are your hands shaking?" "He's cold," Maya cut in. "Because he's been sleeping outside. Because this city doesn't care if people freeze to death." The young cop turned to her. "Ma'am, please step back." She held her ground. "He didn't do anything. You should be looking for the two guys who attacked him." The officer's hand moved to his belt. Not to his weapon, but close. "I said step back." Maya looked between them, the way they didn't ask questions, the way they ignored her words, the way Caleb stood there, silent, like he'd already accepted whatever was about to happen. Then the cuffs came out. "What are you doing?" Maya stepped forward, alarmed. "Detaining him until we sort things out." "He was the victim." The older cop turned toward her, finally. "Ma'am, you're interfering now. That's obstruction." "I'm telling the truth." "Turn around, please." She laughed, just once out of disbelief. "You're arresting me for giving someone coffee?" But they weren't listening. One of them reached for her arm. She jerked back instinctively. That was enough. They pushed her up against the wall, cold metal wrapped around her wrists. As she stared at the graffiti on the bricks inches from her face, one thought echoed, "So this is what justice looks like when your skin isn't the right color." The holding cell was lit by a single, flickering light. It buzzed overhead, casting long, jittery shadows on the grimy walls. The bench beneath Maya was hard and cold, metal pretending to be furniture. She shifted her weight, but there was no comfort to be found here. Caleb sat across from her, his knees drawn up to his chest, eyes fixed on the floor like he was reading something written in the concrete, maybe something only he could see. Maya's wrists still ached. The plastic zip ties had been removed, but the marks remained, a ghost of accusation pressed into her skin. No one had spoken to them in hours, no questions, no statements, not even a reason why they were still here. Maya turned to Caleb, her voice soft. "Are you okay?" He didn't look up. "This is normal." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "This, all of it. The cuffs, the silence, the waiting. You think it's wrong, but it's normal. For people like me, this is the routine." She swallowed. "That's not okay." He laughed, just once, without humor. "Doesn't matter if it's okay. It's reality." The buzz of the light filled the silence that followed. Maya leaned her head against the wall and closed her eyes. She thought of her mother, how she used to tell Maya not to talk back, not to argue, not to draw attention. "Keep your head down, and they'll leave you alone," she used to say. But Maya had done everything right. She went to work, she paid her bills, she minded her own business. And still, here she was. Why? Because she gave someone coffee, or because she stood too close, or because her skin had written her story long before she ever opened her mouth. A guard finally passed by, dragging his feet and a key ring. Maya stood. "Excuse me," she called out. "How long are we going to be kept here?" He didn't even slow down. "Sit down, ma'am." "But we haven't been charged with anything." "Sit down." She sat. Not because she wanted to, because she knew what came next if she didn't. She looked back at Caleb. His eyes were closed now, but his face was tight, like he was bracing for a blow that never came. Hours later, Maya had no idea how many exactly, the same guard returned. He didn't say her name, didn't meet her eyes, just barked out, "You, let's go." Maya rose slowly, legs stiff from sitting too long. She glanced back at Caleb, but he remained seated, unmoving. "What about him?" she asked. The guard didn't answer, just kept walking. She hesitated. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to shout. But what good would it do? The message was clear. Some people were easier to erase than others. Processing was a blur of indifference, a stack of paperwork, a curt order to sign here, initial there. They didn't even explain why the charges were dropped, because there had never been real charges to begin with. When they handed back her belongings, a phone, a few crumpled dollars, her library ID, Maya felt hollow, like she'd left something behind in that cell, something she wouldn't get back. Outside, the sun had risen. The city was awake now, buzzing with noise and life, completely oblivious to the fact that an injustice had been committed just blocks away. She stood there for a moment, squinting against the glare, unsure where to go. Home? Work? Anywhere that would make this day feel less real? A bus rumbled past, spraying mist from a pothole. Maya caught her reflection in the window, a tired woman in a rumpled hoodie, wrists still bearing faint red marks. A woman who had done nothing wrong, and yet had been treated like she didn't belong. She made her way back toward 8th and Carson. She had no reason to. She just needed to. When she reached the corner, it was empty. No Caleb, no tattered blanket, no dented tin can. Just the cracked sidewalk and the battered payphone standing like silent witnesses. Maya stood there, coffee cup in hand, this time for herself, and felt the weight of it all settle into her bones. How easy it was to erase someone, how effortless. All it took was silence, indifference, a turn back, but Maya wasn't built that way. She couldn't forget. She wouldn't. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay on her couch, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun in slow, lazy circles, mimicking the spiral her thoughts were caught in. She kept seeing Caleb's face, how still he sat, how easily the world ignored him, how she had almost walked away the first time they met. She thought of the officer's voice, cold and clipped, calling her ma'am like it was an insult, of the guard who wouldn't look her in the eye, of her own reflection in that bus window. She hadn't been arrested. She had been erased. And that, she realized, was the difference. The next morning, Maya didn't go to work. Instead, she opened her old laptop, the one she barely used except to pay bills, and opened a blank document. She began to type. At first, it was just facts. What happened? Where? When? But then came the details, the things no report would ever include. The look on Caleb's face when they grabbed him, the sound of the cuffs clicking shut, the silence in the cell that screamed louder than any siren. She wrote everything, and she didn't stop. By the time she finished, her hands were shaking. She clicked post. Then she clicked share. Then she closed the laptop. She didn't expect anyone to care. But someone did. A friend from high school, now a reporter, sent her a message, then a podcast producer, then a local justice group, then a lawyer. Maya didn't want attention. She wanted change, but if attention was the way in, she'd take it. She started speaking, quietly at first, in community centers, in school gyms, on late-night streams with too much static and not enough lighting. But people listened, because she wasn't shouting. She was telling the truth. And it wasn't just about her. It was about every Caleb, every woman who gave coffee and got handcuffs, every man erased before he could speak, every name forgotten before it was even remembered. By the end of the month, a petition was circulating. The officers involved were placed under review, and a mural appeared on 8th and Carson. It was simple. Caleb's face looking directly at you. Underneath, 4 words. He was just sitting there. Maya stood before it one evening, arms folded, hoodie up. She didn't cry. Not because she wasn't moved, but because she didn't need to anymore. She wasn't invisible, and neither was Caleb.